today we are really getting into it with some source material all about the beverage industry.
Yes, specifically, if you've ever had that little spark, that idea for your own drink brand, we're looking at what it actually takes.
Exactly. We've got these interesting excerpts, some relating to a company, Sworx Bottling, and they seem aimed at, well, demystifying the whole thing.
Right, pulling back the curtain a bit.
So our mission here is to unpack all this, cut through the jargon and pull out the key things you need to know if you've ever been staring at a shelf of drinks thinking, hey, I could do better than that.
Okay, so the big picture first. What are these sources telling us about the beverage scene right now?
Well, they paint a picture of, honestly, an explosion. So many niche brands popping up.
Totally. It's not just the old guard anymore. You see it everywhere, right? The health drinks, the energy stuff, adaptogens, CBD drinks, kombucha.
It's really diversified.
And a key thing the sources highlight is how low volume, fast-to-market production has changed the game. That seems critical.
Yeah, it really lowers the barrier. You don't need that massive upfront factory investment anymore. It levels the playing field quite a bit.
Which, directly leads to what one source calls the solopreneur beverage mogul. It makes it seem possible for an individual, maybe someone listening right now, to actually jump in.
It does. And the core message that keeps coming up is pretty empowering, I think. It's like, you need a plan, a partner, and a path.
Right. It reframes it. Takes it from this huge, scary thing to something actionable.
But, okay, let's get real, because the sources definitely do. They don't sugarcoat it. They lay out like 5 major pain points, the big hurdles, basically.
Yeah, the things you will bump up against if you try this.
So good are they?
Okay, first up, formulation and sourcing. Getting that recipe perfect, making sure it's stable, finding suppliers you can rely on. It's trickier than it sounds.
Definitely more than just mixing stuff in a blender.
Oh.
Okay, what's next?
Then, packaging and bottling. How do you actually get your drink into the cans or bottles? Safely, efficiently. That's a whole manufacturing puzzle.
Right. Logistics.
Well, manufacturing first, then comes the next one. Regulatory compliance. This is huge. Food safety laws, labeling rules, testing, making sure it's all legal and safe.
Yeah, the red tape. That sounds daunting.
Can be. Then number 4 is distribution and logistics. Okay, now the logistics. How does it get from the bottler to the stores or, to someone's doorstep? Shipping liquids isn't cheap or simple.
Heavy stuff, literally. And the last one.
Branding and market fit. Does it look good? Does it stand out? Crucially, do people actually want to buy your specific drink in that crowded aisle?
Wow, okay. So those are the big 5. But the sources frame these less as roadblocks and more as known challenges, right? Things you can actually plan for.
Exactly. They're presented as things to be demystified, not barriers to stop you.
Which makes the dream feel more tangible.
Oh.
And the sources mention success stories, don't they? People going from an idea to actually being on shelves pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's this line about brands going from a kitchen concept to Whole Foods shelf in less than a year, which is, incredibly fast. It shows it can be done with right kind of support.
So what does that support look like according to these documents? They talk about resources like classes.
Structured programs, it seems. They detail what people learn, things like nailing the formulation, handling compliance, doing proper cost modeling.
So if it's actually viable financially.
Right. And building a go-to-market strategy, and importantly, understanding co-packing strategy. That means using someone else's bottling facility.
So you don't need your own factory. That ties back to the lower barrier to entry.
Precisely. And they stress it's practical, hands-on learning, supported by industry folks, and it's for people even if they have 0 product background before. No fluff, one doc says, just the real steps.
Okay, let's do that myth-busting round you mentioned. Based on these sources, myth 1, I need a boatload of money.
Yeah, huge budget myth. Fact, according to this material, start lean, use co-packers, scale up after you find your footing.
Makes sense. Myth 2, I need a big team right away.
Nope. Sources suggest you can absolutely start solo or very small if you leverage the right partners and support. You don't have to hire everyone yourself initially.
Okay, final myth. The big brands will crush me. I can't compete.
Fact. Niche is king today. The sources argue that small, authentic brands focused on specific needs or communities, they're the ones winning hearts because they can connect in ways big companies sometimes struggle to.
Yeah, so wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway from digging into these sources?
It really hammers home that, maybe counterintuitively, there's possibly never been a better time to launch a beverage brand, provided you have a good idea. The accessibility has changed.
And it comes back to that partnership idea. You bring the vision, the unique angle.
And the infrastructure, the expertise, the machine, as they put it, exists to help you build it. You don't have to invent everything from scratch.
So that final thought from the source material really hits home then. If you've ever stood in the beverage aisle and thought, I have a better idea, then it's time to stop dreaming.
And start bottling. It's a pretty direct call to action, isn't it?
It really is. So if this sparked something for you, based on what we've uncovered, checking out resources might be a logical next step.
Definitely worth a look if that idea is still bubbling up.